Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
How to create equal energy exchange in your business. And we're going to be talking about how equal energy exchange doesn't just happen naturally in our relationships as human beings, and how we need to create a foundation for it, especially if we're going to want businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. And obviously creating an equal energy exchange with your clients will actually help ensure a smooth and successful either coaching, consulting, or small business relationship. Now, you might be sitting there and thinking, wait a minute, what did I just tune into? What is equal energy exchange? What is it? Well, let me tell you something. Equal energy exchange is a very, very important concept, not only in business, but also in life in general. You know what I mean? We are energetical beings, and if we're going to be interacting with people around us, whether it could be our kids, our relatives, the people that we demand money from, there need to be an equal exchange of that energy. And if you don't understand it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. All right. So equal energy exchange is the principle that in a relationship, both parties are giving and receiving an equal amount of energy. So if you're a coach or consultant or a small to medium business, whatever relationship that you have, equal exchange of energy is what actually makes that relationship symbiotic and beneficial for both the client and you as the service provider. Because as a coach, consultant, or small to medium business, you should also be getting the satisfaction and energy from actually coaching or helping your clients have a happier existence. So what does equal energy exchange look like in a service business? In this podcast, you're going to find out how do you actually you can ensure that your coaching or consulting relationships follow this key principle. Right now you're probably thinking, why am I in this? Is this like some airy fairy podcast that I just joined? And a lot of us come across these wise quotes and statements, and the internet is awash with them, that sound right but don't quite make sense to the rest of us, especially in terms of practical implementation. I'm talking about energy right now, and you're thinking, am I talking about fire? Am I talking about oil? Am I talking about gas? What energy are you talking about? But let me tell you something. The people that have processed and internalized and implemented these concepts in their lives probably are living their best lives. And we wonder how they're actually able to do that. Just because you can't see the air you're breathing, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So the energy that you're going to be exerting, in you marketing yourself out there, in you talking to your customers, and in you actually providing the service needs to be reciprocated, and it needs to match the energy that you're also receiving from your clients. That way you're not going to be resenting the work you're putting out there. That way you're actually going to be doing your best work, and you're actually going to be making a meaningful contribution to those you're going to be demanding money off of. So a lot of people that haven't processed or don't even understand these concepts will find them very difficult to relate to. And that's why when I started talking about energy exchange, you're like, what's going on? Even if these concepts seem right to people, they'll be unclear about how to actually apply them in real life. So today I'm just going to be talking about what equal energy exchange looks like, in small to medium businesses, and how you can actually sport it and use it in such a way that is making your business profitable and enjoyable. You see, that's the reason why a lot of some of these spiritual concepts are often overlooked and undervalued, because they become buried in a flow of quotes and statements that nobody actually pays attention to, simply because a lot of people do not quite understand what it actually means. You know what I mean? So, you wouldn't even know where to start unless you start Googling some of these terms like energy and what it actually means. And a lot of people talk, things like energy flows, chakras, karmic relationships. For people that are coaches in this space, they would understand what I'm talking about. But for a lot of people, this actually sounds weird, and it's a major turn off, and especially when it comes to energy exchange in relationships, in self-transformation, or when it comes to ego death. What does this mean? Let me tell you something, man. At the end of the day, like I said, just because you don't look at it, from a vantage point of how you can actually use it to your advantage, you are missing out on using the laws of nature to actually profit in business. Just like anybody else, I find some of these terms very annoying. Firstly, because it's not quite clear what they mean. What does this energy actually mean? Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of different people attach different meanings to a concept, and it's not like there's a dictionary of spiritual terminology, and we all, look at spiritualism with a grain of salt, based on maybe our beliefs and our belief system. But if we're not taking advantage of these laws, it's like gravity. No matter where you go, you're still gonna come down. You're still gonna fall. You throw a ball in the air, it will definitely land on the ground. And secondly, let me tell you something. I find some of this spiritual stuff annoying because I just like simplicity, and using a strange, complex terminology for simple things just confuses the hell out of people. And I'm thinking you're probably confused already right now. Do you know what I mean? And so that's why I really want to talk about this energy exchange in relationships. You know what I mean? It's one of the most annoying examples of putting a confusing term in something that is really, really simple and very obvious. Okay, so what do these spiritual people mean when they're talking about energy exchange in relationships? And what does it actually entail, and what are we missing out on? Okay, well, apart from the obvious process of energy exchange, which I'm not going to be obviously touching on here, relationship energy exchange describe the quality and quantity of energy streaming between you and another person. When you enter in a room, have you ever noticed that sometimes it feels very tense? That's the energy of the room. We always talk about the energy of the room. Or have you ever picked up a phone call and then you just hear the energy on the other person's, on the other end of the call a little bit low, and your energy also gets depleted? Or you get into a Zoom call and somebody's so energetic, or you're listening to a podcast like this, it's very energetic, and automatically your spirits are also aroused. You know what I mean? So whether your relationship is with an acquaintance, a colleague, it's physical, it's mental, it's a spiritual interaction, therapeutic relationship, maybe you're giving people, you're consulting, you're training, your information, your expertise, or you're just mothering, or being a father, a dad, or brother, a sister, or maybe it's a sexual interaction, your relationship energy impacts the sense of you feeling nurtured, feeling trust, feeling support or respect, knowing that your boundaries are not being infringed on, and a sense of ease. And normally when people feel ease in everything that they're doing, guess what? Energy flows, and where energy flows, things happen. All right. So what equal energy actually looks like in a business is when we are exchanging value, when we're exchanging things of note which the other person actually appreciates, then you will actually start noticing, wait a minute, I'm actually having a really good time here. Okay, because there's one thing that we exchange physically when we're doing business, which is money. In business, business is usually an exchange of value for money. So when you're running your coaching or consulting business, there's an even bigger exchange. the initial transaction of a client signing up to your work, with you is one of maybe exchanging money. That's transactional, right? And that's the reason why you want to be sure that your offers and your pricing actually matches the level of support that you're going to be providing to your customers, because you're going to be compensated for it. Because if not, you are likely going to feel resentful to your clients because they're taking much of your time and they're giving you nothing in return. And that's not a good way to feel. And guess what? If you're resentful towards your clients, guess what happens? They can sense that. They can sense that in the way you speak to them. They can sense that in the way you write to them. They can sense that something is amiss, in the energy that you're bringing to the table. And you might not notice it. You might be all smiles and pretending everything is hunky-dory, but people can sense it. Like I said, we are all energetic beings. And if you're not cognizant and paying attention to the energy that you're bringing to the table, you might not notice why clients are ghosting you, or why people are not actually taking you up on your offers or on your advice. Okay, but past the point of maybe the initial transaction, when you start working with somebody, or when you start working with your clients, it should be mutually beneficial, meaning that you and the client should both receive value from that relationship. After all, if you don't enjoy maybe coaching your clients or consulting with your clients, what's the point? What's the point in you actually, working with them, showing up and taking their money if you actually don't enjoy, exchanging whatever it is that they're paying for, okay? And you're not enjoying whatever it is, receiving whatever it is that they are paying you in return. So even when somebody's paying to work with you, it doesn't mean that they have unlimited access to you, all right? You need to set those boundaries. You need to set that energy around what is good and, what is acceptable, so that the relationship is mutual. That's why a lot of people go out of business, because they can't handle, people calling them up at 11 a.m. or at 11 p.m., depending on whatever emergency is coming their way. Because if you're a coach, consultant, or anybody who's an internet explorer, or somebody who's listening to this podcast, you're working with people's health. You're working with people's wealth. You're working with people's relationships. There's a lot of mindsets. There's a lot of emotion that goes into all the things that we're helping our clients achieve. All right. And at the end of the day, your real goal is just to help your clients, solve their problems. You don't want the stress that comes along with it. So you deserve to, to set boundaries, and you need to set these boundaries. And that's where, your energy is not going to be depleted on one person who just keeps coming back for more and gives nothing in return. So you deserve and need to set, boundaries and clear expectations, so that you can create mutually beneficial relationships. And when you do that, you literally manage your own energy, and so that you can show up even more powerfully to all of your clients, and you're not showing up depleted, tired, hungry, and not even wanting to be there. People can sense that, and guess what? They will know where to spend their money, and you wouldn't want that if you're a coach or consultant. All right, so there's a few signs that can show that you're lacking an equal energy exchange in your your coaching or your consulting relationships. And sometimes some people are blind and oblivious to these signs, but I want to put them out in the open so that you can start seeing that maybe something is not quite right, and so you can actually diagnose yourself and see if it's an energy problem, or it is actually a target market match, or you haven't actually clarified your message. Because if you have all of these things in place, guess what? Your marketing budget and your marketing spend actually goes to zero, because guess what? People are attracted to the energies that we bring to the marketplace. So you might be thinking, why am I listening about energies today? Now I've just brought it full circle. Because at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, marketing is just one aspect of running a successful business. You go from hiring and managing new staff, balancing books, driving growth, and it all feels like a balancing act where you're pulled in all multiple different directions. And at the end of the day, your real goal is just to help your clients, right? You just want to spend as much time as possible changing people's lives and solving people's problems. You don't want to waste countless hours trying to, work on people's emotions and energies, just because you've got a lot of things happening and you just can't present the right energy in front of the person that's next to you. The person that's waiting to hear from you doesn't care whether your business is not, your systems are not working in your business, doesn't care that maybe your employee has threatened to leave you, doesn't care that your wife has threatened to leave you. You need to bring the energy to the table of what they are paying, and you also need to be happy and cognizant of the reciprocity that they are expecting because of the payment that they're making to you. So it's often easier to see where we may be out of balance in a relationship, maybe in a coaching or consulting relationship. And, sometimes we might not actually be able to pinpoint exactly what is going on. You see, when you start feeling resentful, that's a big sign, because resentment is a sign of an unmet need. And it can be an indicator that you're probably giving more than you want, or you're receiving less than you expect. All right, there has to be a mutual, equal exchange of energy. And if you're giving more than you are receiving, you start becoming resentful to the people that you're giving more to. And if you start feeling a little bit drained or exhausted, obviously, yes, we do have periods when we're feeling a little bit strained or drained, but there's one particular relationship that is constantly draining you, or that one particular client that keeps asking a lot of questions, and you already have a name for them, an ask hole. It is quite helpful to actually examine the dynamics of that relationship and see if your energy exchange is at the same level. If not, then you could always adjust and see whether you need to get rid of the client or you need to manage them properly. Okay. And half of the time, have you ever noticed that there's some clients you can't wait to meet, and then there's some clients you're like, not them again, not you again, And if you're dreading interacting with a certain person, it's a sign that that person is triggering something within you, and it's worth time for you to examine it, because all that time that you're spending wasting being afraid and doing all the things trying to avoid them, you're just wasting time, and you're actually creating bigger problems than what is actually being presented. So that's a sign that there's an energy imbalance within that relationship. So if you're a coach or consultant, now it's starting to make sense. All right. And some people are what we call an empath. People that are highly sensitive. When you get to a place, you start taking on other people's energies and things of that nature. You know what I mean? And, the lack of feeling that equal energy will prove a lot draining. That's why some people cannot be, in networking situations where they just suck on everybody else's negative energies, and they don't want that. You know what I mean? So you should actually understand yourself. And when you can understand yourself, how you operate, guess what? Instead of looking depleted and bored at a networking event and not connecting with people, you can actually connect with people on Zoom, so you don't suck on everybody else's energy while you're out there. See how it connects to marketing? Because anything that is draining will eventually obviously lead to burnout. And if we don't address and remedy it, it ends up becoming, like a disease, because we are not at ease with who we are. We're not at ease with, what's happening in and around our bodies and our mind. And we're just letting so many people live rent-free, in our mind. You need to leave your mind clear so that you can take on new jobs, you can help your clients do and have a happier existence. All right, so if you find yourself in any of the above scenarios where you're probably just feeling resentful, you're feeling drained or exhausted, and you dread any interactions, you might want to examine what's actually beneath those feelings, what's under the hood, and see if it's an imbalance of energy, because at the end of the day, sometimes we might think we're doing stuff for other people, but they're not reciprocating. And when there's no reciprocation, the energy gets depleted. So how do you actually create equal energy exchange in your business? All right. Let me just put it this way. Energy exchange is about investing the same amount of effort, time, and activities into the relationship as the other person actually does. So if the other person prefers maybe to meet you for a coffee twice a year, don't bombard them with emails or requests every 2 weeks. Ask them how they're doing. There are some people that are good to be seen every year. and you see them for 30 minutes and it's like, wow, yes. And then after that, it becomes awkward. And then there's some people that are good every 3 months. And then there's some people that are good every 2 weeks. And there's some people that are good daily. All right. Sometimes we try and force a person who is a yearly interaction into a daily interaction. And that energy now starts creating animosity around what it is that we're doing, and we now start feeling that unrequited exchange. And then so if somebody is only good twice a year, don't bombard them with requests on how they're going or whatever it is. That would be strange, and the relationship will almost likely stop, if anything. You know what I mean? Similarly, if you're attempting to build a relationship, or maybe it's an intimate relationship, it'd be funny if I don't actually find time to meet the person that you actually want to start building the relationship with, all right? So look at what is the actual outcome. What is the actual goal for you to be in this relationship? And then guess what? You then actually have to match that with, the actual expectations, so that each and every one of you involved in this relationship do not have what we call crisis of anticipation. All right? Because equal energy just doesn't happen naturally in our relationships. You've got to create a foundation for it. Okay? And if you're clear about the types of clients you want to work with, it makes it super, super easy for you to go into the marketplace and go seek out those type of people. I'm not talking about your coaching or your consulting or small business niche. You want to get very specific about the types of clients you want to work with and those inner qualities that are important to being in a relationship with you. You know what I mean? Because yes, there might be a right fit, but you actually like working with clients that have kids of their own, so that they can understand. Maybe you need to go to your kids' ball game, soccer game, tennis game, or whatever recital, and if somebody doesn't have kids, they don't understand. Okay? So for me, the most important qualities of a client is usually somebody who's got self-responsibility, meaning even though I'm their digital marketer, you know what I mean? They actually take full responsibility of their thoughts, their actions, and anything else that comes along with it. That's a key characteristic of, a very successful business owner, or somebody who's on a way to actually create a business that's profitable and enjoyable. Somebody who doesn't blame others for whatever wrong is happening in their business. So you want to decide what your non-negotiable qualities are for the client, and you don't want to compromise on that, because you don't want to be expending so much energy on people that do not actually reciprocate that. Okay, so one other thing you have to be clear about is the same amount of activity doesn't mean the same activities, because different people bring different things to the interaction. All right, so if you're like us, we do the SEO, we do the funnel management, and we do the content creation and everything else. We want the customer to approve most of the work while we are on the go, so that they're not delaying the process. You know what I mean? That's the kind of energy I'm expecting. I'm not expecting them to actually then go in, do the research and all the stuff that we are supposed to be doing. Of course, they're paying us for that service, right? So if what energy I'm asking for on the clients is somebody who's on the ball to actually reciprocate with their time, their effort, and help us, because we're not experts in their field, they are. All right. So our expectations and motivations are actually influenced by our personal values. I value people that just love working. I don't value laziness. You know what I mean? Plus, the intangible, maybe soft stuff or soft skills, the emotional, moods and, whatever attitude people might have, or if somebody has got a sense of humor. When I'm interviewing people, I'm always laughing, I'm joking, and if somebody's just stiff, it's like, okay, how do I actually crack open this person? And I spend half of the time trying to be funny up until I actually make a fool of myself, because I need that reciprocity from that person. I want to see that smile, and so those small things actually outweigh the tangible things, such as money, sex, gifts, or services. We can't love a person just because they're providing us with money and services, but we love a person because they reciprocate our energy. So you want to be clear, with the intentions that you have with your client before you even start the relationship. So your onboarding, even your marketing, the way you write words on your website, the way you actually, put out your social media, these podcasts in and of itself. Look at this. We are now 24 minutes in, you know what I mean? And you're still listening. hats off to you. I value that, my Internet Explorer. Now you know what to expect. I'm giving all this energy, and you're reciprocating back, even though I speak fast, or things of that nature. Guess what? I'm not wasting your time. I want to give you as much value so that you can do whatever you can with this information. So you want to clarify exactly how long the sessions are going to be, when they will start and when they will end. And you want to communicate when the client is expected to hear back from you and what they should actually expect from you. Because if your client starts, emailing you back and saying, what should we expect, these things, what's next, or things like that, they feel like they are not getting enough information from you, and they start feeling like their energy is not being met with the actual expectation that they have for you. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, just make sure that you set those boundaries, you communicate wisely, and you actually make sure the energy is flowing systematically there. Because energy exchange is about maintaining the level of personal satisfaction with each participant of that relationship. What they expect from you and what they're paying for is what you give back, all right? Nothing more, nothing less, all right? And to do that, we actually need to understand our own motivation, and the other person's motivation, and what each and us, what each and every one of us is bringing to the table. And again, if it's all clear and there's rules and regulations around, the expectations, nobody's going to be having any scope creep or having a crisis of anticipation, okay? And again, something we may be bringing different things that may not seem even, but if people are actually satisfied, then all is good. You know what I mean? You're not going one for one. You know what I mean? That you scratch my back, I scratch yours, but there just has to be that energy flow, that is equal. And for example, if you find somebody's company entertaining and lifting your mood, guess what? That person, maybe they're your lawyer or something like that. You want to actually match where they are. You know what I mean? Because that relationship may not seem equal or even, but it actually is, and everyone gets what they want out of that interaction. All right. So make sure there is, that mutual exchange. And guess what? The reason why I'm saying this is because time is priceless. You want to spend it with the time. You want to spend your time with people of high value, and also with an energy exchange rate that actually matches that you're bringing to the table. You don't want to be the one person that is just giving, and you're not getting anything in return. So how do you know when you're giving the right energy, and what does it feel like, really? You start feeling energized, by your client interactions. You're excited to actually help them. You're excited to serve them. You're excited to answer their questions. I mean, while it's not realistic that every client session feels happy or joyful, you know what I mean? But, you consider the overall fit with your clients amicable, you know what I mean? And your boundaries are respected. People are not, expecting so much of you for very little money, and you feel like there's a mutual respect between you and your clients, and no one is either pushing your time or your energy boundaries. And even though, no relationship is ever perfect, each person is actually taking responsibility for their actions, and they're actually committed to putting the fullest effort in whatever relationship that you guys have. So let me tell you something. You now have time and energy for yourself, and it's a really good sign when you feel happy with yourself and you are looking after yourself, because if you don't feel well, you're not going to do well. So there's no point in you over expending your energy on people that do not appreciate it, just trying to please them, because you can't please everybody, you know what I mean? And, I used to think that I can please every person that came through our doorstep, even if it killed me. Let me tell you something. I almost died. All right. So creating an equal energy exchange with you and your clients actually starts with you yourself. All right. Remember, for people to actually respect your time and your energy, you first must respect your own time and your own energy. Have you got calendars that your clients can, book in? Have you got ways that people can actually self-serve so that they're not constantly asking you questions? Have you put that information out there so that people can actually connect with you in other ways that do not deplete your energy? So you want to set boundaries and make sure that it allows you, to endure whatever you have created around yourself, because growing your business is not going to be easy, you know what I mean? So setting boundaries actually allows you to ensure your needs are met, the needs of your customers are met, and you can actually better serve, your customers. So once you start practicing equal energy exchange, in your business, in your relationships, it actually helps you ensure that you and your clients are getting equal value out of that relationship, not just money, not just transactions, not just, physical exchanges, all right? That way you're not burning out in the process. Remember, our goal is to ensure that you're creating a business that's profitable and enjoyable, all right? So as it's your business, you naturally need to decide what the balance looks like and feels, and you need to set those deadlines and guidelines, and knowing that relationships are always in flux and may actually need, adjustments along the way, I really want that you create a business that's profitable and enjoyable. And if you're passionate about doing the work that you're meant to be doing and living an inspired life while actually doing it, you need to actually look at your energy spheres, and you need to actually make sure that you subscribe to this podcast, because look at this. Random topics like this actually end up becoming one of those things that actually help you create a business that's profitable and enjoyable. And as you know, my mission is to just help coaches and consultants like you build a brand that you're proud of and actually create a lifestyle that you love. So why don't you schedule a call with me so that we can work hands-on with you and develop a strategic plan, and then deep dive into your work, look at your ideal client clarity. That way, you're not just attracting any randoms who will be depleting your energy. And once that is in play, we can actually set up your strategic messaging and your consulting offers and actually make sure that you're getting paid for the amount of value that you're putting out there. So that looks at your business model. We optimize it, look at your pricing, and we also look at your fees. And then pretty much once all that is in play, we can help you set up your marketing engine and lead generation system so that you can constantly attract ideal clients, that you can work with right through and through. So to just sum it up, energy exchange is about investing the amount of time and activities into a relationship as the other person does. I just hope you will do something remarkable and amazing with this information today. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au.